Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a great Tuesday, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news. Talking about how the mainstream media was trying to spin this and say that Trump allowed Chinese balloons to fly over the continental US during his term. And I told you guys that there were a couple things that we could expect from this, right? If that was true, the mainstream media would have alerted the American people, because they would have passed the information off, or they will use that information as a rapid smear, to have the House investigate Trump for being in bed with the communists, right, in bed with shiny Chinese and pushing for impeachment. Right. The other thing I said was, the other possibility was that the military high-ranking officials knew about it and didn't tell Trump. And that seems to be the most plausible thing that took place. In his administration, we know he was surrounded by individuals that hated them. Individuals that want to see him be taken down, all around him within his cabinet, within his inner circle. There were a lot of people gunning for Trump during the time he was in office, right? And so when CNN and all these mainstream media outlets came out and said, oh, well, just happened during the Trump administration, and multiple Trump officials said, no, did it? If it did, we had no idea it was taking place. And that's where we find this coming from his defense of the Secretary of Defense, General Mattis. That dude, do that. You know that Trump said that it was a go-getter. Now go-getter, he was not soft on the enemy, right? And later we find out he's pretty soft on to me. He's probably white rage focused as well, right? So let's go and take a look what we have here. Treason. This is what it would be: treason, or should have been, right? We talked about the coup that the military was running against the president, especially in the later days of his presidency. But apparently it was happening way before that. Treason. Representative Walsh says the DoD told him China's spy balloons crossed us during Trump years. But General Math this did not tell Trump, thought he was too aggressive. So he withheld this information from President Trump, because he knew Trump would not have allowed the Chinese to fly balloons over the US. Right. He knew that Trump would have ordered the military take those things out. They're not going to fly over to United States, not while I'm president. Right. So General Mattis knew this, so he withheld the information from others that were surrounding Trump and Trump himself. President-elect Donald Trump, Gerald Mathis, Mike Pence after 2016 election. This is a picture there of those individuals. Mike Waltz of Florida joined Stuart Varney on Monday morning on Fox Business Network, and Representative Walsh says current Pentagon officials briefed him over the weekend and said Chinese spy balloons crossed over Texas and Florida during the Trump years. Waltz didn't drop the bomb. He said Representative Bob said that Gerald Mattis was Secretary of Defense at the time and decided not to inform President Trump because the Pentagon thought Trump was too provocative and aggressive. This is treason if true, right? Math has put us, the US, in danger, offer comfort to the enemy, allowed Chinese to spy on us installations, and then hid it from his superiors, including the President of the United States House. Republicans must call Gerald Mathis to immediately testify under oath. This is also quite a statement. If true, since Trump is the first US president in over 40 years not start a war. Mathis must have been reading the New York Times. Big mistake. Let's hope this man faces justice. Right. So this is what we have. We have treason that was taking place within the US military, where the Pentagon, and again, these woke generals who were on the top brass of the military branches, were working against President Trump. You think Mark Milley is the only soy-based focused white rage individual in the military? You're wrong. Is littered with the Mark Milleys and gentleman Malthuses all across the military brass right now. This is a very dangerous there to focus on making sure that men can shower with women inside of these installations, not to use the wrong pronouns. And of course, they got to focus on the white rage and focus on this white supremacy that they have to focus on, instead of actually focusing on the dangers that could actually impact the United States from abroad. That's their main job, but no, they're too busy of doing social experiments and copied off of body parts to make sure they don't offend anybody. That is what the US military is all about right now, as far as the top brass is concerned, not the men and women that serve, but I'm sure there's a certain segment of them that believe in this nonsense. And this is what was taking place. The military was withholding information from the president, because they knew the president would have not stood idly by and allow the Chinese to spy on us in that fashion. What a blatant, blatant treason that these people committed. And then this is some big news. Don Lemon. This man is the definition of a man-child. You know how you really get to know somebody, you get to see somebody's true self when they're confronted with stress, how they react as when they show you who they really are. You know, it's kind of similar to when I was a kid, for instance, and bear with me for a second. I'm pretty sure this is gonna make sense when going over to other kids' houses. For instance, sometimes you learn that the other kid was selfish, and he didn't want you to play with his toys. I'm a little 5-year-old kid going to another kid's house, who I think's my friend, and I'm not allowed to touch his toys. I'd sit there asking myself, well, what the hell am I doing here? Or better yet, an accident happens and I break one of that kid's toys and all hell breaks loose. And all of a sudden I'm the devil. You know, as a kid, when I saw other kids acting in that way and reacting in that way, it told me a lot about who they were. Many friends growing up would come to my home, and they'd accidentally break a toy. It's an accident. Things happen. I'd respond with, don't worry, it's fine. It's just a stupid toy. It's not a big deal. Other kids, however, the way they reacted to the stress, with their personal belonging being damaged or broken in the way that they treated you, tells you a lot about who that person is. Well, I think that translates into adulthood. The way people react to stress is where you see their true selves. And boy, are we seeing this guy's true self. CNN's little Don Lemon, whose career is a tumbling down, a flaming blimp falling from the sky. And let's just say he's not taking it very well. And supposedly, based on reporting, he's verbally abusing, verbally accosting his co-host and throwing total tantrums on the set. Don Lemon is showing us exactly who he is. Alright, folks. So the juiciest drama is always from the Daily Mail drama onset. Don Lemon screamed at CNN This Morning co-host after he accused her of interrupting him during a broadcast, leaving the 30-year-old in tears, and the crew rattled down the line. Allegedly screamed at a CNN This Morning co-host after he accused her of interrupting him several times while on air. Caitlin Collins, 30, ran off the sweat and tears on December 8 after the 56-year-old yelled at her in front of the television crew and their other co-host Poppy Harlow. Sources told the New York Post CNN boss Chris Ledge, who pledged to give CNN a makeover since taking over the outlet last year, and then announced shocking layoffs, was supposedly stunned at the news and told Lemon to take the following day off to cool off. Don Lemon screamed that Caitlin, who was visibly upset, and ran out of the studio. The sources told the Post CNN This Morning is a ratings bomb, and early last month experienced its least viewed week since launch, averaging just over 330,000 viewers. Caitlin wants to be on set with Don as little as possible, a source told the Post, quote, "It's messy. And so what version are we at now? This is Ellen DeGeneres version, and rainbows and cuddly happiness when the cameras are on. But the moment we're behind the scenes, the moment those cameras are turned off, the real character shows itself. Don the man is dealing with the lowest low of his career. I'm not exactly sure how long he's been a primetime host, but I'm fairly certain that it's over 10 years he's had a storied history of success. I mean, that's undeniable. Whether or not you think he deserved that success is a different conversation entirely. Point is, on the mind, has been at the top of his game for a long time. And I guess his ego is having a little bit of a hard time accepting his new reality with two different co-hosts. Of course, Don the Mind is used to the Don't the Mon show, where he's the center of attention. He's the guy at CNN. Now he's one of 3 on a morning show that's failing, and he seems to be highly emotional and melting down at the idea that he has to participate in the conversation. It's not just his garbage monologue as fake emotions, and his fake tears or rotting Black Lives Matter lies and activism every night. He now has to have a conversation with other people, and that entails other people speaking instead of him, and to him that's interrupting him. And the way he responds is like a damn selfish child just can't accept it. No, mommy, all the toys are supposed to be mine. I don't want to share. We're witnessing a 54-year-old man who is a multi-millionaire whining and crying because he has to share the spotlight with a younger individual at CNN who's trying to make a name and career for herself. I mean, how selfish and entitled can one get? Done. The man is on his way to 60 years old. The guy has had, again, like I said earlier, storied success. He's a veteran in the game. He has enough money to never have to lift a finger again, not enough money to not have to work anymore, to retire, to never have to do anything ever again, to never have to wipe his own behind. Excuse the analogy. He can hire maids and service for everything. He could live in the Hamptons, if ever he was the type of individual to have children in the family. He could do that, provide for his family, provide for his kids, His kids' on and on generations to come down. The mom can just accept his new position, except that maybe he's not that guy anymore. He's the old crusty veteran who's sitting on the bench at this point. He's there for locker room support to lift the next generation up. But no, of course not. An elitist egoist like Don Lemon needs everything to be the Don Lemon show. Everything is about him, his face, his career, his bank account, his notoriety, his fame, me. And for me, it's the base psychoanalysis conclusion for all of these left-wing individuals, these left-wing Hollywood, New York elitists. Even their activism and everything that they do is all a front, it's all a mask. It's me, look how good I am. It's taking other people's problems, societal issues, pretending to care about them, not because you care about finding a solution or making people's lives better. No, of course, when has a leftist ever done that? It's about making it about themselves. I care so much about this issue. I'm better than you. I'm the guy on TV who's such a caring, compassionate, good individual with great ideas that are going to solve the world's problems. Everyone needs to listen to me, but push come to shove, once moments like these hit, those same individuals, those same compassionate, selfless individuals show you exactly who and what they are. In every single instance, we learn that these people are frauds, whether it's from the compassionate side or whether it's from the monetary side. The socialist who's constantly going after the 1%, all of them seem to be the most self-serving people you could imagine. There's Jane Cougar's nephew on Twitch, calls himself a communist and buys a $3.5 million home living with all the rich capitalists in California, drives a $200,000 Porsche. Oh, but it's an electric Porsche. It's a $200,000 car, all right, an anti-rich capitalist supposed to be biking everywhere. It's the same thing every time. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I could pretty much promise you, is going to retire a multimillionaire, and that's probably a low estimate. The people who are social justice activists like Patrice Ken Coolers, self-identified cultural Marxist, on top of that fighting for black communities and Black Lives Matter, first thing she does is funnel millions of dollars to herself and her family, and then takes that money and purchases a wide array of luxury real estate, forming a $10+ million real estate portfolio in, get this, some of the whitest neighborhoods there are. It's pure peak hypocrisy. It's liberal elitism 101. They always end up showing the world who they really are. On them on is merely Ellen DeGeneres version 4 or 5. Like I said, I lost track at this point. The ones who espouse the most virtue, the ones who tell you just how good and compassionate they are. The good liberal ends up always being the opposite. Oh, actually, I completely forgot, but just a couple of days ago, good liberal, good Democrat Stephen Curry, who is an economic equity activist, lobbies the governing power in his neighborhood to stop construction of affordable housing near his home because his neighborhood is for rich, elitist liberals, not poor plebeians in need of housing. In California, that place that's experiencing a housing crisis. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below and hit subscribe.